Hey guys, CJ here, bringing you a neat little piece on a Monday afternoon. Of course, Ant-Man came out this past weekend, nearly a decade after production started, exceeding admittedly low expectations following a rocky road to development. Of course, in that development, there was no lower point than Edgar Wright's departure, which many fans felt was the death knell for this Marvel outing. And it kind of got into that. Now it's kind of Hackney territory now for people to start saying, could this be the Marvel flop that starts the downtrend? And you know, of course, this movie didn't, it was the second lowest opening, I think, and it was the lowest opening they've had since Incredible Hulk, but at the same time, it still exceeded expectations, and I think it's safe to say that it did not disappoint. To me, it's one of the funniest Marvel outings and the best standalone movies they've ever done, and that's, honest opinion. So, what exactly changed from Wright's departure to the finished product? Coming to us straight from a Radio Times interview with Peyton Reed, we have the answers. But before I get started, I just want to say that anyone that really kind of goes with the everything changed, it's awful, nothing like what Edgar would have done, it's just wrong. I mean, in fact, at that point, I would actually question if you watched the movie at all. I mean, Edgar Wright's fingerprints are all over this, in both the editing and the quips, and in fact, many of the best scenes are either directly or indirectly inspired by Wright's earlier treatments, but more on that in a bit. So, let's break down some of the biggest changes, but let's start with what stayed the same. So from very early on in the drafts, it was always a heist film. According to Reed, that was always Wright and Joe Cornish's design, as well as the mentor-student relationship between Hank and Scott. In addition, Scott stealing the suit was also a very early on addition, as well as being heavily inspired by the comics, the To Steal an Ant-Man story arc. I think that's Ant-Man number 47. I might be wrong though. The final fight sequence in Cassie's bedroom was also a Wright and Cornish design, which to me felt very apparent. I mean, it was right up the alley of Wright's humor, no pun intended. I mean, if you go back to Hot Fuzz, where they had the fight in the miniature, the model village, this was kind of the direct inverse of that, I guess you could say. However, some of the best sequences in the movie didn't come from Wright at all. For example, the so-called tip sequences, which were my favorite scenes, which is Luis's, "Oh, my cousin told me," those scenes, they were all Adam McKay and Reed, although they were very inspired by Wright's penchant for quick cuts, in my opinion. And Wright is actually not only a great writer, he is a fantastic editor. He writes, he's very much into the mise-en-scene. Well, he's not really the editor himself per se, but he's very much into mise-en-scene, and the way he sets those scenes up are incredible. In addition, things like Hank's wife, the quantum realm, as well as some of the deeper aspects of Hank's character as a man extremely troubled by what he's created, and Peyton Reed said that he kind of styled Pym in the vein of Robert Oppenheimer. Those were all Reed and McKay additions, and yes, the addition of the Falcon was their idea as well. However, they refute the notion that Marvel's pushing for MCU tie-ins is what pushed Wright out, kind of indirectly, but in Reed's words, "I have to say there were no requirements from Marvel about slotting in anybody else. The Falcon was something Adam McKay pitched early on, purely because the comic book nerd in both of us was like, it would be great to see these two guys come up against each other. And it felt organic to the heist structure of the movie that before this big heist, there's the trial by fire, where you gotta send Scott into Avengers HQ, relatively untrained, to get this device." And that's not exactly a direct thing, it's not exactly a direct refutation, so I might be, extrapolating there, you could say. Don't want to get in any trouble. However, it does seem to, it does kind of on the face of it seem to refute the fact that Wright felt that he was, pushed to do so many MCU tie-ins and he didn't want to do it. And the Falcon, I mean, watching the movie, you think if that story is true, then the Falcon edition was probably what they were talking about, but it doesn't seem that way at all, according to Peyton Reed. So, there you have it. Though it's just a handful of pieces of the film that were explored in this interview, I think it gives you a pretty good indication that while Wright leaving this project was unfortunate, and will always be the subject of what could have been questions, his presence is not lost, and is still felt in a major way. So tell me what you think in the comments below. Did you like the movie? Have you seen the movie? What do you think about it? Are you still sad that Edgar Wright left, or are you a little bit appeased at this point? And if you're new, don't forget to subscribe. And for new and old subscribers alike, don't forget to hit that like button. It tells us that you liked the video, of course. So signing off, this is CJ, and I'll see you next time.